Welcome back, everybody. We are on part 2 of the Call the Spot on the Card main event for this week's edition of the Smark Out Moments Smack Talk podcast. We just talked about the women's Money in the Bank ladder match participants. The 5 women in that one were ranked. If you want to know what we did for that one, go back and click on that video, or if you're on iTunes and Stitcher, then you've already listened to it at this point. But now we have to talk about the men's. So, again, if this is the first video that you're watching, click on the other one to get the information about how this works. But the one specification I need to actually discuss when it comes to the difference between this one and the last one is there are 6 men in this one, not 5. So our standard breakdown of Call the Spot is based off of a 5-person scale. You can't really do that when there's 6 people. The only alternative is you just kind of ignore the winner of the match or something along those guidelines. But the poll that I put up on the Mega Maniacs, I don't know how many months ago, where I was asking everybody, if we do something where we have an extra category, what would you like it to be? You guys voted on Hall of Fame being the extra one. So it's essentially one spot above the main eventer. And the classification for that, we never really have any rules for it, but I kind of looked at it this way. Hall of Famer, to me, would be if the main eventer is, all right, well, we're going to give the title to the main eventer, and released is they're out of the company. Hall of Famer to me is sort of like a combination of the two, but not really, because you don't want to put somebody in the Hall of Fame and say that they can't wrestle anymore. But I kind of looked at it as, all right, Hall of Fame needs to be somewhere above the rest of main eventer. Main eventer has the title, whatever. Hall of Fame to me is, if only one of these men could be in the Hall of Fame, who would it be? So that is something to keep in mind. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have to retire. It doesn't mean that they can't win the main event title, that kind of thing. But it's just like, if you had to pick one of them to go into the Hall of Fame and the rest of them couldn't ever, who would it be? Which is real tough when it comes to that. But
it sounds like they're taking on like a John Cena role, where they're almost bigger than the title itself.
Yeah, essentially. They don't have to win the title because we all know that they could win the title at any point. And let's give the title to the guy that needs it. Sort of like when Brock Lesnar doesn't fight for the championship, but he's still the main event of the card kind of thing. Or The Undertaker, what he's been doing the past couple of years. Kind of that sort of role. The Rock, another person. Even Chris Jericho to a certain extent. Although they kind of just give him mid-card titles to be like, here you go. And he might need to win that Intercontinental title again now that The Miz is kind of nipping at his heels.
That sounds like a WrestleMania match to me. Book it, WWE.
Still crossing my fingers that we get, somehow along the line, we get Jericho versus Bobby Roode at WrestleMania this year. I don't know how it will work, but I kind of want to see that happen. But our 6 men for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match participants were, in alphabetical order, AJ Styles, Baron Corbin, Dolph Ziggler, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Shinsuke Nakamura. And I'm going to start off with probably one of these controversial picks here, but my released pick is Baron Corbin.
Mr. Money in the Bank.
To say that, yeah. I like Baron Corbin too, and he's the guy who won the match. But this is a tough list because I like every single person on this list. Even though I rag on Nakamura a little bit here and there, and I sort of I make fun of Sami Zayn constantly by calling him a dork. I gotta release Corbin because before he won the Money in the Bank, I wrote up this list, and I thought to myself, he has a bright future, but if I were to release anybody else, I think it would cause more ripples in the WWE universe where people would be complaining about it. Baron Corbin, I think, would get the release where not as many people would bitch. And if more people in the fan space could be accepting of somebody's release over the other people, then I kind of have to justify it that way. Like, I can't look at him compared to anybody else and go, yeah, he's better than them in the ring. Everybody's better than him in the ring. On the mic, well, he's certainly better than Nakamura. That's for sure. But he's not better than Owens. He's not better than Ziggler. He's not better than Styles on the mic. He's kind of on par with Sami Zayn. He's got the height, but height doesn't matter for everything, because if that was the case, Great Khali would be like a 20-time champion. So
Once
I just
is enough.
he shouldn't have even done that at that point. At that point, I'm like, you know what? If I can't edge him out over anybody in any category, I gotta by default just put him at the lowest, which really sucks because I do like Baron Corbin. I don't want him to be champion right now. I really wanted him to be like Intercontinental champion when he was doing that Dean Ambrose thing. And I would have been cool with him being United States champion, even if he would have beaten Kevin Owens for it. Heel versus heel, it still would have been fine for me. But I got to release him, unfortunately. Somebody has to go. Who do you have for your released?
I agree with you that this is a tough lineup of people. There are people that have a lot of positive attributes, a couple of negative attributes. None of them really stand out as anything like terrible. They'd all be assets on any wrestling roster. But unlike you, I like 5 of these people.
I knew you were going to go with this guy.
And there's one person that I don't like, and that is Dolph Ziggler. He needs to get off television permanently. He has been there too long. He's not accomplished anything worthwhile. He thinks he's better than he is. And you can tell that's kind of his actual general attitude as opposed to it. He thinks he's been screwed out of opportunities over and over again. Well, he has had opportunities, and he squandered every single one of them. He's at a point now where he's just a cheap imitation of Shawn Michaels. He's the poor man Shawn Michaels. To much to the point of a parody that he's now basically Marty Jannetty. He's got...
Oh, come on. He's so much better than Marty Jannetty.
Well, he's not... Well, to be fair, Marty Jannetty would probably be more fun at parties. But I don't like it. He's good in the ring. But that doesn't matter anymore. He cuts the same promo over and over again. He's good on the microphone, but when you're saying the same thing over and over again about how people don't respect you, I don't respect you because you look ridiculous. You haven't changed your character at all in the last 5-6 years. Like, even as a babyface or a heel, he was still basically the same character.
Yeah.
He hasn't changed since... He hasn't been interesting to me since Vicky Guerrero wasn't his manager anymore. He won the world title a couple of times. I think that's once too many. He had one shot. Well, actually, he's had 2 major opportunities. Once when he won Money in the Bank and he got injured, which is another reason why I'm kind of on the side of releasing him, is when he does get the big breaks, he does seem to either fade into obscurity or get injured. And when he was the sole survivor in that Survivor Series match in 2014. Other than that, he has just been a perennial mid-carder, and it's gone to the point where I can't take him seriously challenging for any sort of title. Maybe the United States, but he can't be. If he was to be a world champion again, I'd buy that less than the fact that Jinder Mahal's world champion.
Ouch.
I know you like him, and it makes... I don't know if I'm taking like enjoyment out of the fact that you like him, and I'm saying all this terrible stuff about him, or...
Nah, I still like him. He's high up on my list.
I know. I'm not going to change your mind about it, but I'm hoping that like more people are on my side of this, because I do see a lot of people go against Ziggler online.
Yeah,
and I know
that's
that's
kind of one of those things where it's been not necessarily it's cool to do it or whatever like that, but a lot of people have been really getting negative on Ziggler for the past like 2 years.
I think he's losing steps in the ring as well. And that was his kind of major asset, was the fact that he's like so much better than everyone else in the ring, and now he's not, so he doesn't really have that to cling to anymore.
We agreed almost entirely on the women's section, but we're gonna have some some different lineups when it comes to this one at the very least. Because
you'll have a chance to defend him later. You'll have a chance to defend him later on. Tell me why I'm wrong about this useless sack of shit in the ring.
I will support some of your points when I do get to it, though. But
this failed comedian. He's a wrestler because he's a failed comedian.
But we won't be talking about him again for at least another 2 spots or so.
He was more over when he was in the Spirit Squad. That's how bad it's got.
Nicky. That brings us to Jobber. My Jobber is somebody who I justify being a jobber because he's easy to pick on. Sami Zayn. I like him.
We're in agreement with this one.
you'll probably agree with me on this part about it too. When you have a jobber,
Mm-hmm.
a good thing for a jobber to be is the smaller guy and somebody that can lose and the crowd doesn't just ignore ever since then. Like, you get like a Curtis Axel. Curtis Axel is not the smallest guy on the roster, but he is a smaller kind of guy. You know, he's not coming into this looking like Braun Strowman or something. But the difference with Curtis Axel being an effective jobber and somebody like a Sami Zayn would be, people like Sami Zayn. People don't really like Curtis Axel. So when Axel jobs out here and there, nobody gives a shit, and then he just stops being on TV. Sami Zayn being a jobber, this guy's never won a title on the main roster yet.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. He should have at least won the Intercontinental or the United States at some point by now. And for him to not win that means that they kind of look at him as sort of a jobber to the stars a little bit, where he can lose to Kevin Owens. He can lose to, well, maybe Rusev when he comes back, or you could put him up against anybody in the upper mid-card, or even sometimes the mid-card itself, especially the main event, and you can justify it as being like, oh yeah, Sami Zayn's going to lose this one. He's the one that took the pinfall from Jinder, wasn't he? For that number one contender spot.
Yep.
Which, like, you are the one that they said, yeah, if anybody's going to lose to Jinder Mahal to give him a boost, Sami Zayn, you're the one that's going to do it.
To put that in perspective, Mojo Rawley and Eric Rowan were both in that match.
Oof. And the one that looked better against Jinder Mahal in that span of like a couple of weeks, even better looking than Sami Zayn was Rob Gronkowski.
Yep. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you putting Sami Zayn in the jobber spot. The thing that makes him such an effective jobber, like you say, is the fact that he's likable, but he's smaller and you can buy into him losing matches. But also the fact that you want him to win matches. But even though you kind of know that he's going to lose, you still have the hope. Well, like you say, when someone like Curtis Axel or Bo Dallas is wrestling as a jobber, you don't want them to win and you don't expect them to win. And if they do win, you don't kind of go, oh my God, that was amazing. Bo Dallas or Curtis Axel won. You're kind of like, what the hell are they doing having these guys beat Finn Balor or something like that?
Yeah, it almost more so becomes a negative to the person who they beat than it is a positive to them.
Whereas Sami Zayn is the complete opposite, because you want him to win. Well, a large portion of the audience want him to win. And he doesn't always win, but he does pull out these, not fluky, but like quick wins over the like upper mid-carders like Corbin or Owens or Ziggler. And he pulls those out, and then you're left with the hope of thinking, okay, this is going to be the thing that gets him going. This is the thing that's going to push him towards the world title. And then he starts losing again for about 5 straight weeks. And then you start going, oh, is it ever going to happen again? And then he wins again. And then you're like, yes, we're right back there again. That's like a perfect jobber to the stars.
Mm-hmm. Every time he gets to the point where he starts like building up a little bit of steam like he did with Baron Corbin, I'm like, oh shit, maybe they're actually going to have Sami Zayn beat Kevin Owens for the United States title, because I'd be down for that 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, he gets that quick pin on Baron Corbin, and then Baron Corbin basically puts him in the hospital, and we're like, okay, that's why he got it. Like, he got it so somebody could steamroll him. That's why. Like,
he builds your hopes up only to have them taken away.
Yeah.
But you're always left with the feeling that at one point it's all going to pay off. Whether it is him winning the United States Championship or it's him winning the WWE Championship, there's going to be one moment where it's all going to come together and he's going to win. And then a week or so later, it's all going to be taken away. And then we're going to be right back down again. But you wait for those moments.
2018 is going to be kind to him.
Yeah. He's someone that you live the moments for. You enjoy the journey, but you're waiting for the moments. You're waiting for the big moments.
Yeah.
And
Daniel Bryan before they give him the push.
Exactly. You're invested in the journey because he's a likable guy, even though he's having this kind of neurotic Woody Allen character at the moment. It does work for him, and he does actually. It's kind of like a gimmick that they've given him to almost bury him in a way, but he's making it work into his favor.
Yeah, he's not being annoying about it.
Yeah, he's adding
reinforcing the fact that he's a good guy, babyface.
It's what all good wrestling characters are. It's his own personality taken up to like 11. Because I've heard enough stories to suggest that he is kind of like that in real life.
Yeah, it seems like it.
from what I've heard, like Kevin Owens say in shoot interviews and things like that, he does come across as a character that like is so pernickety about the details, but it works for him, and so he's putting that into his character, but he's not going overboard with it to the point of like, oh, shut the hell up, Sami, I don't want to see you on TV anymore. You're more like, oh, Sami, what are you doing? You're almost like your head, you're like your head in your hands. It's like a cringy comedian.
Right, or like when you're like a teacher and you can see like the dork on the playground and you're like, oh, kid, like, come on, like, grow out of this already. Stop doing that, or you're gonna get picked on your whole rest of your life. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
dork.
But one day that kid is gonna score a touchdown, and everyone's gonna love him for 1 week.
Good old Rudy.
I'm sure that's a reference to something, but I'm not going to get it.
It's a reference to Rudy.
Okay. Good on you, Rudy.
It's a movie about I don't know if he's like supposed to be flat out retarded or if he's just like dim or something. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie in a hell of a long time, but it's this like I guess kind of retarded. I don't know. I shouldn't say retarded. People are going to bet you complain that differently challenged or whatever the fucking word is this week. Person who is on like a football team, and eventually it's like everybody starts giving him all support, and Rudy's kind of like, held up on like the shoulders of everybody and all that, and it's like one of those movies that like a lot of grown men cry at,
Yeah, that'll be Zayn.
Like, Sami, he did it, like that kind of thing. That was the jobber spot, unfortunately, though, so it's we gotta shut on him a little bit. Now we start getting into the spots where you can actually start getting some wins, essentially.
Yeah.
With the mid-card. Who do you have for your mid-card? I don't know if we're going to agree or disagree about this one. I think we might agree.
This one's tough. Because I think there's the 3 people that I have between now and the Hall of Fame, which I'm not going to spoil, but I'm pretty sure we both know who that is.
We'll probably agree on that one.
Yeah. They're all quite close, and they all have like very different intangible qualities to me. Especially in WWE, it doesn't really matter how good you are in the ring. It does for a little bit, and it does help with your crowd support, but the character's the most important thing, and all 3 of them have quite established characters that could like work in their favour, all the way from mid-card to a main event. I think I'm going to go in my mid-card for Shinsuke Nakamura.
Agreed.
I don't buy into the thing that because he can't speak English, that's going to hold him back, which I think you're probably going to bring up.
I think it does hurt him a little bit. It's certainly something that it doesn't help him.
I think it makes him more interesting. And I think in this day and age, even though we've got Jinder Mahal as WWE champion, who's basically saying that all Americans hate people that don't have the same colour or speak the same language as...
Well, he says the word Raj a lot.
He does. He does. He does like that word.
The hell does it mean? King, right?
Yeah, king or emperor, something like that.
Jeez, don't ever give this guy king of the fucking ring.
I mean, he's WWE champion. What the fuck matters now? He like you can't really go any like higher with him.
Well, I mean, every promo at that point will be Raj.
And
then,
oh yeah.
How do you say ring in that? Was that what ring king meant? King of the ring?
I don't know.
The Ring Kings.
The Ring Kings. He's the Ring Raj. The Ring Raj.
Yeah.
But
Nakamura, though, I agree with where you're going with that.
I think at the moment he does have a lot of potential. I don't buy into him as much as a lot of other people do. I think his run in NXT was disappointing. Along the lines,
disagree with it a little bit.
I think he had a couple of standout matches. His first debut match against Sami Zayn, a couple of matches against Samoa Joe, and a match against Finn Balor in NXT. And I think other than that, it was distinctly average. I think his title runs weren't that special. I've heard like certain people say, and I don't know if I wholeheartedly agree with this, but it does bear some credence that I think he's joined WWE because he's close to ending his career. I think he's looking for a big payday, and I think he's going to slow down his style. And he doesn't want to get as physical as he would have gotten in New Japan. He's come to WWE for a big payday to have a bit of a lighter schedule almost in terms of like between the ropes, he's probably going to work more dates, but he's going to have less impact and moves between the ropes. And he's probably going to win a title every now and again, and then he's going to sail off into the sunset. A lot richer than he would have been otherwise, and probably more famous than he ever would have been, and probably a surefire spot in the WWE Hall of Fame.
At the very least, definitely more famous for then when he goes back to Japan. Then he
Exactly.
just, do like special signings and kind of merchandise himself a little bit now and then again, and really kind of make some bank off of that.
Because I don't know. I wasn't hugely following New Japan when he joined, and I heard a big deal about him, and I did check out some of his matches, and he's awesome in the ring, especially when he's allowed to let loose and be as physical as he wants to be. And his match against Dolph Ziggler on the most recent episode of SmackDown was probably the best match he's had since getting onto the main roster.
Yeah,
but
they have been working well together. Which, I mean, Nakamura has been having some good matches with pretty much everybody, so that's not too much of a surprise.
I think Nakamura's going to have some huge matches, but I just don't think he's in a position. I don't think he's in a position where he's going to be long term.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's probably got 2-3 years maximum in WWE, and then he'll go.
I look at this kind of like a combination of some of the same things you were talking about. The microphone stuff is definitely a big hindrance because, I mean, face it, we're WWE. If you can't talk on the mic, your chances of succeeding drastically go down.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are able to get around it a little bit, and some people, they stick around long enough where they can kind of just learn it. Like, Mark Henry was never great on the mic. Eventually, he got to the point where he's cutting the Hall of Pain promos, and you're just kind of like, oh, shit, I buy it. Like,
yeah.
Some people do that. Nakamura is not going to be there for 15, 20 years, so that's a guarantee. He is getting better, and he seems to be putting more effort into learning the English language than Hideo Itami has, which is kind of crazy because Itami has the fucking time. He should have been doing Rosetta Stone when he was sitting at home. But a lot of the Japanese talent, Asuka struggles a little bit. She's kind of doing the best out of everybody, though, it seems. Nakamura is weird on the mic, even without not being able to speak English that well, because his accent is sort of like... He's sort of... The way that he looks, too, it kind of makes it seem like his character is trying to be like the Japanese Rocky a little bit. And that is funny to me and sort of cuts a little bit of his the tension of him being like, I'm going to kick your ass, because it's going to look like... It looks like you're the type of boxer that just got his face punched in. Like, it works against him a little bit, but... he is really good in the ring, and he's the type of guy that by no means do I expect them to keep him in like a mid-card spot, because they've already protected the hell out of him, and he's just been on the roster for, 3 months? Something like that. But he's also kind of not living up to certain hype, I think.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people really go crazy over him, and... character-wise, he's a strange guy who has a lot of hype around him. And that's it. Like, the artist known as Shinsuke Nakamura. Well, what's he an artist of? He kicks people? Okay. And he's got that strange thing that they don't even know what they want to call it, that weird hand movement, which Renee Young literally called it, he did the thing the other day on Talking Smack. If my friend Dane was on this podcast right now, he'd be tearing Nakamura to shreds, because every time he comes out and we're watching a pay-per-view and stuff like that, he's like, I fucking hate this guy. Look at me, I'm doing my fucking hand thing and all whatever like that. But I kind of get that criticism too, because it's like, after he does that, he's just a guy who wrestles in the ring and stuff, and he's good enough in the ring that I totally want him to win that United States title. Ideally, I kind of want AJ Styles to win it from Kevin Owens, have a couple feuds with people like Rusev and maybe like Dolph Ziggler, maybe Mike Kanellis if he gets to that point. Have Nakamura get a title shot at WrestleMania and win the United States title there. That's kind of where the trajectory is that I'm hoping, because I do not want Nakamura winning that main event title anytime soon. He needs to earn that,
Yeah, I agree. He should earn it. I don't think... Part of the reason I put him in the mid-card spot is because I don't think he will win the WWE Championship, which sounds odd to say. I don't think he will win like the top card title. I think Nakamura's in WWE to be a walking dream match, which is matches against matches that people wanted to see for years and years. Matches against AJ Styles, matches against Kevin Owens, matches against Sami Zayn, John Cena, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins,
Brock Lesnar.
But other than that, it seems like I think he could be a kind of upper mid-card, up towards the main event version of Brock Lesnar, which is you bring him in to have these dream matches, but you don't build long-term storylines around him.
I can see that, yeah.
I think that adds to his mystique. That would make him feel more special. Because I don't know. There's something about him that I'm not connecting to on a long-term level.
Mm-hmm. I think that after a couple of months, now that he's on the main roster, and there's no stigma of like, this guy's so great, he should go to Raw or SmackDown, people are going to start to turn on him.
Do you think, it sounds weird, he doesn't seem like a sort of wrestler that should be wrestling week to week. He seems like
I can kind of see that.
He seems like he's too special for that. It seems like it should feel like a moment when he's wrestling. It should be something that people, I mean, it's kind of the reason why Brock Lesnar is considered such a huge draw, in the fact that he doesn't turn up very often. He should be someone that you gravitate to because he only turns up once every 3-4 weeks, and then he blows you away with this hard hitting, like, strong style. And then he leaves his opponent laying, or occasionally gets lost, because I don't think he should be unbeatable. He loses. But, yeah, I think that's something that could actually work into his favour, because week to week it just feels like he's going to diminish too quickly.
Mm-hmm. People are going to get really sick and tired of just the entrance being the only thing he has to offer other than in the ring.
Yeah.
We'll see how long it takes, but I do think that that's going to be a hindrance down the line.
But he definitely should be United States champion soon. Probably, like you say, around about WrestleMania time sounds about right. Maybe slightly earlier.
Depending. I mean, I could have him go in as the United States champion and fight AJ Styles or something like that. I think we're getting Styles Nakamura, and yeah. I don't want that to be for the WWE title.
Yeah, Nakamura, the only thing, well, not the only thing, but I want to see him in WWE, to see him against Styles, Cena, and Lesnar. And then he can kind of do what he wants other than that.
Rollins, I think, could be a good match, too.
Oh, I think he'll have lots of good matches, but those are the 3 matches that I think you could sell an entire pay-per-view on, just those 3 matches.
So this is where we get to the part where I have to start defending Dolph Ziggler.
Upper mid-card, really?
Upper mid-card, yeah. I think that he's in that spot where he does cut the same promo all the time, which is annoying as hell. But he's still so good in the ring as far as I'm concerned. With if he doesn't phone it in where you can tell that he just like doesn't want to work with this guy or something, this dude just like easily puts on a great match with almost everybody. It's very frustrating that he is obviously on his way out of the company. And, I mean, Nakamura even kind of alluded to it, saying, like, he might leave and go to Japan soon, that kind of thing. But I still enjoy the hell out of Dolph Ziggler. And not only would I be fine with him being that upper mid-card spot where he holds that United States title or feuds for it or something like that, I wouldn't have been opposed to him winning that Money in the Bank and potentially even getting a world title run. It wouldn't have been something that I would have justified over a couple other people. And I would have looked at it and gone, yeah, we've already kind of done this before or whatever, but I've been a big fan of Ziggler since he first came out and started doing that handshake gimmick. For some reason, I thought that was funny, and I was just sort of like, this guy's got a lot of upside to him in the ring. I can understand putting him as released, sadly, because it is the type of thing where, like, if he were to get released, I think the company would just move on. Like, he's not going to be like, you're losing John Cena, and it's like, whoa, holy shit, you know? Like, Ziggler does give himself a little bit too much credit in some regard with that kind of stuff. They'll move on, and they won't act like anything's changed. But I like him too much. I need to put him in the upper mid-card.
I don't know if you can pick up how... I don't know how loud my eyes are rolling right now, but I mean,
I can feel the vibes.
I know we don't usually ask for this, but I want in the comments to people to timestamp this moment and then put the hashtag Tony Diggs Dolph. See if we can get that trending.
I got your support, Dolph. There's at least one person out there that still thinks you're good.
Yeah. Just the one.
Yeah. You've got Smark Out Moment's backing as far as the owner of Smark Out Moment goes. The other people on the website, maybe not as much, but I do like them. I think that, again, like, I kind of compare sort of people back and forth with different aspects, and I'm kind of assuming your upper mid-carder is going to be Baron Corbin, right?
It is going to be Baron Corbin.
So with Baron Corbin, for me, with the difference between Ziggler and Corbin, if you were to tell me Shawn Michaels is going to come back and he's going to have, or Undertaker, say, or any of the people that I'm a big fan of, you know, like Edge, is going to come back and he's going to have one more match, who do you want it to be with? I want it to be Ziggler over Corbin for every one of those people, because I think Ziggler can pull out a better match than Corbin.
I agree with that, but that doesn't make me change my mind about it.
And with the character-wise, same kind of thing too. Like, Corbin is so good when he's not cutting a promo. Like, when he's on Talking Smack, I like Baron Corbin so much more, because then he's just a dick. It's like, him being a douchebag that clearly has no friends is the best Baron Corbin.
Yeah, I agree with that. The reason why I'm putting Baron Corbin, there's a lot of reasons why I'm putting him in the upper mid-card. I don't think he's bad in the ring. He's probably the worst out of all of these listed. But that doesn't mean that he's bad, and he doesn't need to be good, because he's tall, he's strong, and he has a limited moveset. He doesn't need to be good in the ring. I'd be fine if he stays at this level in the ring for his entire career. He doesn't need to be that good in the ring. I disagree with your assessment of him on the microphone. I think he's definitely better when he's on Talking Smack, when he's a bit more, I guess, relaxed almost, in a situation where he can just talk at a normal volume, just make
not
these
have to remember specific lines.
Yeah, that's an issue that plagues everybody, and I think it affects Corbin negatively. But he's still good enough that he can carry it. I think his character's brilliant. He plays the lone wolf character very well. It's a character that's been used many times before in wrestling, and he's certainly not carrying it as well as, say, a Stone Cold Steve Austin did, of a character that has no friends, backstabs people that team with him. Doesn't matter if he's your partner 1 minute and then he's laying you out the next minute. But he's getting there, and I think he has a lot of potential to build on it. He's a lot younger than most of the people here, so he has longevity to him. So,
how old is he? Do you remember offhand?
I'm trying to.
I would think that he would be like
32.
I was going to say 31, 32.
So he's got about. I think he could have like close to 10 years in WWE from now, which is a good, especially with someone his size. Usually, people who are bigger actually have longer careers in WWE because they don't work as fast or pacey a style as the smaller guys. So he's less likely to get injured. So he could be a character like Kane almost, really. A big man who can like easily slot into any main event situation through the years.
I put him on the Test level.
Oh, he's much better than Test.
The same level, though. Like, he's not... I can't put him as, like, well, he's like the next Undertaker. That type of thing.
Oh, no, not the Undertaker, but I don't think...
Kane. I think he's not quite at Kane's level.
Maybe not now, but that's why I've got him in the upper mid-card, because I think he's missed the Money in the Bank now. So, like it or not, he's going to be WWE champion in the next year.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I think I like it. I've seen a lot of people in support of it. I think he's got a lot of support, even though he's a very good heel. He's a good heel in the sense that you will boo him, but you'll do it in an almost respectful way that, oh yeah, you're actually doing your job properly, but so we're actually going to boo you rather than cheer you for being like such a shitty.
Yeah, he's not a cool
person.
heel.
No,
he's just a bad guy.
Yeah,
like you can tell that he's the type of guy that, like, if you're standing in line at the bank, you're gonna be like, oh, this fucker. Like, you know.
I don't think he should ever turn babyface. I think he should be heel for the vast majority of his career.
I could see him actually kind of maybe working as a babyface for a short stint if they don't like job him out as a babyface, because they tend to do that with people where they'll be like, oh, now you're a good guy, now you can lose a bunch. And if they kept him as a face, but they kept him kind of like what Austin used to do, where he was, I mean, he's not going to be a Stone Cold. Like, that's not a good parallel, but sort of just as far as like his character goes when it comes to like, he's still a dick, but he just happens to be fighting a bunch of heels.
Yeah. Well, I think that leads into the Lone Wolf character in that he doesn't have any allies, and he doesn't care if you're a good guy or a bad guy. He'll either fight you, and he'll probably walk out because that's what he tends to do. But either way, it works for him.
Picture him with a tag team, can you?
He shouldn't. He should never be in a tag team, or it should be some sort of like thing where he's forced into it and eventually turns on them.
He gets paired up with somebody, and they call themselves the Lone Wolves.
Yeah, you can tag with one of the American Wolves. But I don't think a tag team would work for him. I think any time that he's put in a tag team match, I'd like to see him just walk out all the time. That would just suit him down to the ground. And also, I don't think we should discount the value of his finishing move. I think the End of Days is one of the best finishing moves in WWE history.
I think I don't know about entirely with history for best finishers of all time, but it did really well on that tournament for Smark Madness. That got into like the semifinals or something. And it's a hell of a finisher. Like, it looks crazy.
I think it's in the sense where it looks impactful, and he can kind of pull it out from nowhere, even though you can see it coming, because it still takes a few seconds to connect. It's not like a 1 second thing and you're down. He still can like pull it out from like throwing people up in the air and catching them. He can like just pull them into an Irish whip situation or anything like that. It seems that it's one that he could pull out in a variety of situations that will make it look cool. Almost like, I think it's the next RKO in that regard. It won't be ever as big and as popular as the RKO is, but I think it's the next big finisher that will have a lot of people talking. It's the finishing move that will get people more. It's a finishing move that will, I guess, excel the actual character. Because I think the RKO is bigger than Randy Orton, and I think the End of Days will be bigger than Baron Corbin, but that's not a bad thing.
Well, it'll be interesting when he hits that to win the title. That's going to be a big moment.
Yeah.
Whether it's on Orton or on Cena. It's going to be on one of those two. That's for sure.
I think it's going to be on... No, I think it's going to be on Styles.
Really?
Yeah, I think Cena's going to be the one that beats him for the title. I don't think... Because at the moment, I think Cena's next title win needs to be a big deal. Because it'll be his 17th time. And I don't really want to see him win it and then drop it to a Money in the Bank winner. I think it needs to be to somebody who's going to be a big deal but needs to win it fairly. Like a passing of the torch thing. I'm
thinking Orton wins the title back from Jinder. And then we get Orton Rusev at SummerSlam. Because we'll have important enough matches that won't, like, they'll put the WWE title match, like, midway through the show kind of thing. And I think Jinder will start a feud with Cena. And we'll get, like, a little bit of feuds here and there with some different people. I think Corbin's going to be with Nakamura for a little bit or something.
Yeah.
And eventually Corbin cashes in on Orton, and then Cena beats Corbin around maybe like Royal Rumble or so, because I can't picture Baron Corbin going into WrestleMania as a champion.
I'd agree with that somewhat. I mean, I can definitely see that happening. I think Cena needs to win his 17th at WrestleMania. I don't think he can win it before that, and I think he needs to win it against a bigger name than Baron Corbin. I think the idea I have in my mind for Cena, I know we're talking more about Cena than Corbin, and that's probably not the case here, but for Cena, I think he needs to win it against someone who's well established, who has had the championship for a while, which is why I almost want Jinder Mahal to hold it for a long time, so Cena can just beat him for it. But and then he needs to lose it to someone who's going to be like the next big star, who's preferably going to win the championship for the first time. And that Corbin does fit that, but I'd prefer it to be someone like, I don't know, I'd say Owens almost. But I know Owens has been a world champion, but was he really?
I mean, that kind of is a good little transition to get to our main event and our Hall of Famer. Because This is a tough situation because I like both these guys. We're both down to Kevin Owens and AJ Styles, and I got a feeling we might agree on this one. I gave my main event to Kevin Owens and my Hall of Fame to AJ Styles.
I concur.
It's a tough thing because it's like we've never done the Hall of Fame thing before with Call the Spot, so that's another little factor. But again, when I went through and I was looking and going, if only one of these people could get in the Hall of Fame, AJ Styles is the one that has to.
Yes.
Like, I do think that by the end of their careers, Dolph Ziggler, Kevin Owens, and I don't know about Nakamura yet, but at the very least, Ziggler and Owens will go into the Hall of Fame. Sami Zayn maybe depends on, he needs to win some matches and stuff, and Baron Corbin's so fresh in his career that it's, I don't know what's happening with there, but Owens is a guarantee.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's really tough because these two are really, really good at everything that it needs to take to be a superstar. I mean, Owens doesn't look like your typical WWE superstar, but he does it. It's in a way that it works to his favor.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he's rotund because he just can't lose weight. It fits into his character. It doesn't limit him in the ring in any way. He's as agile and as powerful as pretty much anybody. He's amazing on the microphone. I think he's the best on the microphone out of any of these.
I think he's one of the best in the entire company.
Oh, absolutely. And the fact that English isn't his first language as well, because he's French, obviously, French-Canadian. So he's taught himself, well, probably not taught himself English, but he's learned English as a second language, and he sounds so natural when he talks, and he also is so good at improvising.
Oh, he's fantastic at that. You can catch him off, and every once in a while, he'll make a mistake on his own, and you can tell that he gets really pissed about it.
Yeah, but then he comes back with something, and then you just like, oh right. God, I want to applaud you so much for it.
90 out of 100 times, if somebody catches him off guard, he will just turn it right around. He'll turn the crowd to boo him if they start cheering him. Like, he knows what he's doing. You compare the two of them, Styles and Owens. Owens is better on the microphone. Yeah,
and he's also outstanding on commentary.
Mm-hmm.
He could have a long career as a commentator for WWE afterwards. I go back and listen to some of his commentary. He used to do commentary for Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and he was able to be a bit more liberal with his language then, so it was a lot more, a lot more fun. But even now, he feels so much more composed than any of the actual announcers that are paid to do that job. I would listen to Owens over any of them.
I love when he's making fun of them too. Like, you can tell that he's better on it than like Byron Saxton, and then he just sort of makes Byron feel awful.
Owens should be a multiple-time world champion by the time he retires.
Yeah, I want that guy to retire with at least like 7 world titles.
Yeah, and it's disappointing that his first world championship was I don't think it was booked well at all.
No, it was a placeholder thing for them to do this whole dumbass shit with Goldberg and Lesnar.
Well, it was a placeholder almost in the fact that he wasn't meant to get the Universal Championship because Finn Balor got injured. So he was put into that situation out of necessity rather than choice.
Mm.
And then he had Chris Jericho fight a lot of his battles for him. His feud with Rollins was okay, but Rollins was still in the period where he wasn't really a babyface, not really a heel, so he didn't have a lot of interest to it. Then he was killed by Roman Reigns on week-by-week basis, only holding on to his title by disqualification or screwy finishes. And he's a heel, so it does make sense, but it was so one-sided that you just couldn't buy him as a champion.
I think if he would have walked into WrestleMania as Universal Champion, it would have helped out his perception.
Absolutely. And I think he should, at one point, walk into WrestleMania as WWE Champion, or walk out of WrestleMania as WWE Champion.
Yeah, I agree. I actually kind of want maybe Owens and Orton to be for the title this year.
I'm going Owens Cena.
I'd be cool with that too, because they had some great matches.
Yeah, I think that would be like a full circle thing almost, that Owens started it, and I'd have Owens. Well, no matter what happens, I'd have Owens beat Cena at WrestleMania. Or
even if that's Cena's 17th?
Yep. I'd have Cena wait a year from that point.
Huh.
I think I do wholeheartedly agree that Cena should win the title at WrestleMania, but that doesn't mean it has to be this WrestleMania. I think it almost like it builds anticipation more, like thinking, oh my God, is he actually going to win his 70th world title? Because we all in the back of our minds know that he's going to win it. But if he loses a few opportunities, say, oh, he has that match at WrestleMania and he loses, and then he has another match at SummerSlam and loses, and then he eventually wins the title, you're going to be a bit more like, oh, he actually did it. And then people might actually cheer it.
Random episode of SmackDown.
Yeah. Oh, main event. Yeah, they did it on episode of main event. Yeah. So I really like Owens. Is basically the gist of it. He's all round one of the best people on the roster on either SmackDown or Raw. He could walk onto either show, become an instant main eventer, and so that's where he needs to be.
With Styles, though, the thing that gets him that little bit of a boost into the Hall of Fame is he's had the spotlight as a main eventer in Ring of Honor, in Impact, and now in WWE. And he's just sort of, his career, even though Kevin Owens has been wrestling really, really long too, he wasn't on the same level at that.
Yeah.
And Styles is just kind of, he's the bigger name. It's like inarguable. He is the bigger name. He does fill that role as a main eventer flawlessly. Like, I thought that he would struggle a little bit more, and he just smooth sailing ever since he first came into WWE. That dude picked it up so quick. He's
so much better on the microphone than I ever gave him credit for.
Yeah, he's like, he seems more comfortable in WWE than he ever has been, which is kind of crazy because you'd think that he would have a little bit more freedom in like TNA, and he'd be like, oh, I'm just working with like a bunch of nobodies and whatever, so I look like the bigger fish in a small pond. And it's like, he comes to the WWE and he's this guy that it's like, yeah, but what have you accomplished because you haven't been in WWE? And it's like, oh, apparently you're fucking amazing at like everything, and even better than what you were getting credit for on TNA. And he's got to go into the Hall of Fame if somebody has to out of this list, like.
Absolutely. He has the longevity behind him. I think he's the best in the ring out of all of them. I think this might be a bit too conjecture, and I'm probably getting way go hard if he's listening to this, which he's not, so it doesn't matter anyway. But he's one of the top. I think he's a top 5 wrestler of all time.
I wouldn't go that far.
I know you wouldn't. I know Wago would, and
Wago probably put him at number 1.
I think he's the closest thing in terms of like ability to a Shawn Michaels or a Chris Jericho, who I think are two complete like all rounders in wrestling.
Consistency and
consistently putting on great matches, good on the mic, very good on the microphone, really good characters, are able to get a great match out of anybody.
Succeeding as a heel and a babyface.
Yeah, I have like they're kind of like on a level where you can put them into any sort of feud, any sort of environment, and they'll thrive. Like he had matches with James Ellsworth that got people talking. I mean, or for some people would say for the wrong reasons, but they were interesting to watch.
And it's weird, like we were talking before about the idea of like people that they don't need the title and everything. Styles is almost already at that point. And he's only been in the company for what, 2 years?
Royal Rumble 2015, 16. Yeah, 2016. Royal Rumble 2016, so he's been there a year and a half.
And that's nuts that he's already where it's like, yeah, he doesn't need to win the title.
No, he's when you're feuding with AJ Styles, it's a big deal. And people have gotten to that point where, like, if Baron Corbin is feuding with AJ Styles and no titles involved, nothing else is it, Baron Corbin gets elevated by it. No matter if he wins or loses a feud in general, he gets elevated by it.
Right.
Which is what people should be doing when they're facing people like, say, a Brock Lesnar or a John Cena, and it sometimes goes the other way. Because you almost...
Especially Brock.
Yeah, especially Brock. Styles is in a situation where he can lose feuds and retains a lot of popularity. Whereas it seems like you need to protect people like Lesnar by not having them lose. Whereas Styles can lose, and he can look so good doing it that he not only elevates the person that he's fighting, he elevates himself in the process.
Right.
Kind of thing. You have a say they do have a match between Corbin and Styles at SummerSlam, and it's a really good, like, awesome match that you'd expect. People saying, wow, Corbin is like really upped his game. But it could have just been all Styles doing most of the work. And yet you're looking at Corbin and thinking, wow, this guy's something special. He was right to be Money in the Bank winner. Styles has that like ability. He has a Hall of Fame credentials in the sense that you know that wrestlers will talk about him in a sense of that guy was something special.
Yeah, he's earned the respect of everybody.
Yeah, he's obviously a multiple-time TNA champion. He's a multiple-time IWGP champion. One of the few gaijins or like non-Japanese wrestlers to win that title multiple times. He's actually never been Ring of Honor World Champion, which is surprising. But he did have a lot of great matches there. Yeah, he's accomplished everything on the independent scene. He's accomplished everything in WWE's competitors. Well, competitors in quotation marks, because they obviously don't have any. And he's now at a point where he's the face of the SmackDown brand.
Mm-hmm. Which is good, because he pulls it off.
Yeah, and he could go to Raw and become the face of the Raw brand. Probably not if Roman Reigns is still there. But yeah, he'd be the face that people want rather than the face that people get.
Right. And that's a lot to say that too, especially the fact that John Cena is on SmackDown and AJ Styles superseded him.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's a bigger deal than John Cena, because obviously John Cena has the merchandise, he has longevity in WWE, whereas AJ Styles has longevity for the wrestling fan. AJ Styles is for the wrestling fan, John Cena's for all the fans.
Yeah.
And Styles performs a role of, he's been there so long, and people who are familiar and have been watching wrestling for a long time are so familiar with how good he is that now he's in WWE, it's almost like, okay, so what's next for him? Who could he have a match with next that can he can perform something amazing and pull out this guy's greatest match? It's almost like a case like you have a match with AJ Styles and it could so easily be the best match that you ever have in your career. It's one of Cena's greatest matches, and that's saying something. Yeah, in fact, that Cena's been WWE for like 15 years. And like 3 of his greatest matches of all time have all come against AJ Styles. I don't think it's his greatest matches, because his best matches of all time I think came against Punk, but it's definitely probably second or third.
It's up there at the very least, and it's not just because of like, well, Cena's learned how to wrestle better. It's like, no, AJ Styles brings out the best in people. He's had good matches with everybody so far. Yeah,
he brought out the best in Dean Ambrose. He could arguably be the person who brought Chris Jericho back up to the level that he was for the remainder of his last run. Mm-hmm. He pulled out an amazing match with Shane McMahon at WrestleMania. So he can literally do it all. And he will go in the Hall of Fame, and he will go in the Hall of Fame as a big deal. Would you think he could be a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Oh, yeah. I think he's the headliner.
It might be a while then before he goes in after his retirement.
Hopefully he doesn't have any kind of like forced retirement bullshit happen with like some injury or something like that. But
yeah,
I'm thinking I'd rather it be like 10 years from now or something like that. And he's a first balloter for sure.
And then also he's going to be someone who's going to be training the next generation of wrestlers. He's already said that he wants to stay in WWE as like in the Performance Center, working along the with the new guys. And he's going to create a whole generation of really top quality wrestlers. Imagine like him, William Regal, Daniel Bryan working behind the scenes. It's going to be, wrestling's going to get to a level where you're going to be watching it as almost like it's an actual sport almost.
Well, that's kind of like what you were saying with Styles and Cena being two different worlds. It's like sports entertainment. You've got Styles for sports and you've got Cena for entertainment.
Yeah. And I think that works with a lot of the people we have on this list. I think Styles is he's obviously very entertaining, but he's more firmly placed in the wrestling camp. Whereas Corbin comes across as a sports entertainer.
Right.
I think Owens...
Ziggler is more of a wrestler. Nakamura is more of a wrestler, but he's got a little bit of the flair to it. Kevin Owens is kind of more of an entertainer a little bit, but he is damn good in the ring, and it's like...
Yeah, I think Owens is the best blend out of all of them. He crosses both of them the most naturally. And that's why
Kevin Owens had the build of like a Randy Orton, he'd be like a 14-time champion right now.
Yeah. If Owens had been wrestling in WWE for like longer, probably even like 2 or 3 years longer than he has, we'd probably be putting him in the Hall of Fame spot.
Yeah. Just
because even though AJ Styles does have the longevity and is arguably better in the ring, Owens would have established himself as the multiple-time world champion, but by this point, it's just a case of like when they arrived and what they've done in the time that they've been here. Because Styles has been here, he's been in WWE less time than Kevin Owens has, which is
weird. But they're still like on equal playing field.
Yeah, and Styles is like he's held the WWE Championship, which is more prestigious than the Universal Championship, and he held it with a lot more prestige than Owens did.
Right.
And that's not saying
our list. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying this. It's not like Owens won't get there eventually.
Yeah, and he is our main event spot.
Yeah, so he's a big deal. So don't. I don't think we've been too unfair to Owens there.
No, it's kind of like, well, you're gonna get that silver medal at the Olympics. It's like, yeah, that's amazing. You know,
it's like
that whole like, oh, I didn't get gold.
Yeah, it's like you lost to Michael Phelps in the swimming. Well, it's not too bad.
Yeah, that's basically losing to Aquaman.
Mm.
Our list back and forth here. My is released Baron Corbin, Jobber Sami Zayn, mid-card Shinsuke Nakamura, upper mid-card Dolph Ziggler. Then we go up to Kevin Owens, and then AJ Styles topping it off. And your list, bottom to top?
My list, bottom to top, is Dolph Ziggler to be released, Sami Zayn as the Jobber, Shinsuke Nakamura as the mid-carder, Baron Corbin upper mid-carder, Kevin Owens main event, and AJ Styles Hall of Fame.
All right, everybody. Well, as I said before with the other thing, make sure you leave your comments below and tell us what your rankings are. And if you agree or disagree with what we've got on here, then, give us a little bit of a lashing in the comments below. But not if it's anti-Ziggler. Just kidding.
Especially if it's anti-Ziggler. I want to see all the anti-Ziggler comments. I want Ziggler out to be the main comment that you post. And if you're not, I'm going to be disappointed.
Maybe it'll be the Smark My Words. I don't know. Callum, where can people find you on Twitter?
You can find me at Wigmeister14 on Twitter, and do check out some of the great articles that are coming out of Smark Out Moment. I recently did a Smark Remarks on Ellsworth Gate, the Ellsworth taking down the Money in the Bank briefcase, but we also have the Triple Threats, the Women's Wrestling Weekly Power Rankings. So, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on there that's updated every week, every day. So definitely tune in and check it out.
And for my side of things, obviously, everybody hit that subscribe button on this channel if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're not watching it on YouTube, do it anyway. Just sign up a YouTube account and do it. Next week, our main event is going to be the mailbag for June. So if you have any questions you want to submit to us, then go ahead and do that as soon as you can over the next couple of days so I can put that all in the list and we can get around to it when we get around to it. Maybe that Friday or so is probably when we're going to do that. We usually try to do mailbags on Fridays. But the sooner you send in the questions, the easier it'll be to make sure that we do get all your questions in and we can actually kind of like give it a little bit of thought and everything ahead of time. And I can edit out some of the ones that are bad or something like that, If you want to be aware of when those new things get posted, then that subscription is one of the main ways to do that. And when you do that, hit that little bell icon, and then there's a section that you can check off that you want notifications. That's making it a lot easier for you. But you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Smark Out Moment, because we will be posting stuff on the website all throughout, every single day, essentially. And you can be aware of that kind of stuff. And then, of course, the YouTube videos as well. We also have the hot tags and the Ask Him and all that kind of stuff coming up next week as well. And after that, I think the week after that's probably going to be Great Balls of Fire predictions. So that's what you got to look forward to a little bit with that. But that's going to be it for this week's edition of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast content. Thanks for watching, everybody. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and we're being counted out.